October 15th, 2021, police responded to a distress call from an apartment complex on Oak Street. The lifeless body of 32-year-old Ethan Reed, a beloved local high school teacher, lying in a pool of his own blood. The prime suspect was his girlfriend of 2 years, 29-year-old software engineer Olivia Rogan. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they uncovered a disturbing web of surveillance, manipulation, and escalating control that had ensnared Ethan in the months leading up to his death. Hidden cameras meticulously placed throughout his apartment told a silent tale of paranoia and obsession. Olivia Rogan's path to becoming the central figure in a tragic true crime story began long before she met Ethan Reed. Born in 1993 to Margaret and James Rogan, Olivia grew up in a middle-class suburb of Portland. From an early age, those close to the family noted Olivia's intense need for attention and validation. Margaret Rogan, in an interview following her daughter's arrest, reflected on Olivia's childhood. She was an exceptionally bright child, always at the top of her class, but she struggled to form lasting friendships, Margaret recalled. I thought it was just shyness at first, but as she got older, I noticed how possessive she could be of the few friends she did make. If they spent time with other children, Olivia would become sullen and withdrawn. This pattern continued into Olivia's teenage years. Her high school boyfriend, Alex Chen, later told investigators about Olivia's constant need to know his whereabouts. She would call or text incessantly when we weren't together, he said. If I didn't respond quickly enough, she'd show up wherever she thought I might be. At the time, I thought it was just because she cared so much. Despite these interpersonal challenges, Olivia excelled academically. She graduated as valedictorian of her high school class and went on to study computer science at Stanford University. It was there that Olivia's controlling tendencies found a new outlet in the world of technology. Her college roommate, Sarah Jennings, remembered Olivia's fascination with coding and surveillance software. She was brilliant at it, Sarah said, but sometimes it felt like she was using her skills to keep tabs on everyone around her. She'd casually mention things about our classmates that she couldn't possibly have known without some kind of digital snooping. After graduating with honors, Olivia landed a prestigious job at a tech startup. Her colleagues described her as driven and meticulous, often working long hours to perfect her code. However, her personal life continued to be marked by tumultuous, short-lived relationships. Jason Tran, who dated Olivia for 6 months in 2019, described the relationship as intense and suffocating. She wanted to know everything about my day, my thoughts, my plans, he said. When I tried to set boundaries, she'd become angry or manipulative. It was exhausting. By the time Olivia moved back to Ashland in early 2020, accepting a remote position with her company, she had left a trail of broken relationships behind her. Yet those who knew her couldn't have predicted the dark turn her life would take when she met Ethan Reed. Ethan Reed's life stood in stark contrast to Olivia's tumultuous journey. Born in 1990 in Ashland, Ethan was the youngest of 3 children in a close-knit family. His older sister, Amanda Reed, described their childhood as idyllic. We grew up surrounded by nature, spending our summers hiking in the mountains and our winters skiing. Ethan was always the peacemaker, the one who could make anyone laugh. From an early age, Ethan showed a passion for learning and a natural ability to connect with others. His high school English teacher, Mrs. Elaine Hoffman, remembered him fondly. Ethan had a way of bringing out the best in his classmates, she said. He was patient, kind, and had an infectious enthusiasm for literature. I always thought he'd make an excellent teacher someday. Mrs. Hoffman's prediction proved accurate. After graduating from university with a degree in English literature, Ethan returned to his hometown to teach at Ashland High School. Ethan's personal life was characterized by steady, long-term relationships. His college girlfriend, Laura Simmons, remained a close friend even after their amicable breakup. Ethan was always so balanced, she said. He valued his independence but was also incredibly loyal and supportive. We broke up because our career paths were taking us in different directions, but there was never any drama. The fateful meeting between Olivia Rogan and Ethan Reed occurred on a sunny Saturday afternoon in May 2020 at a local farmer's market. Olivia, still adjusting to life in Ashland, had ventured out to explore her new surroundings. Ethan, a regular at the market, was picking up fresh produce for the week. Their eyes met across a display of organic apples, and Ethan, ever the friendly local, struck up a conversation about the best varieties for baking. Olivia, charmed by his easygoing nature and warm smile, found herself lingering at the stall far longer than she'd intended. Ethan, impressed by Olivia's quick wit and intelligence, suggested they meet up for a hike the following weekend. Their first date was a hike up to Grizzly Peak, offering breathtaking views of the Rogue Valley. Ethan's friend, Mark, later recalled, Ethan came back from that hike on cloud 9. He couldn't stop talking about how smart and funny Olivia was, how they talked for hours without a lull in the conversation. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and Ethan's relationship blossomed rapidly. They spent long evenings discussing books, sharing meals, and exploring the natural beauty of Southern Oregon. To those around them, they seemed like a perfect match. However, even in these early honeymoon days of their relationship, there were subtle signs of Olivia's possessive nature. Ethan's sister, Amanda, noticed that Olivia seemed to monopolize his time. She'd call or text constantly when they weren't together, and she always seemed to have a reason why Ethan couldn't join family gatherings without her, Amanda recalled. Ethan, blinded by the excitement of new love, brushed off these early red flags. When his friend Mark expressed concern about the intensity of the relationship, Ethan laughed it off. "She's just excited about us," he said. "It'll calm down once we're more settled." Little did Ethan know that this was just the beginning of a pattern that would gradually tighten around him, slowly cutting him off from the life he had built and the people who cared about him most. By the fall of 2020, Olivia had all but moved into Ethan's apartment, despite him never officially asking her to live with him. She began to exert influence over every aspect of his daily life, from what he ate to how he spent his free time. Ethan's colleague and friend, fellow English teacher Jessica Lawson, noticed changes in his behavior at work. He started turning down invitations to after-school happy hours, something he'd always enjoyed before, Jessica recalled. When I asked him about it, he said Olivia wasn't comfortable with him being out late. It seemed odd, given that she knew most of us and had even joined us a few times. Olivia's control extended to Ethan's social media presence. Friends noticed that his usually active Facebook and Instagram accounts became sparse, with posts becoming infrequent and impersonal. When questioned, Ethan would brush it off, saying he was trying to be more private online. But it was Olivia's attempts to isolate Ethan from his family that raised the most alarm bells. Amanda Reed remembered a particularly disturbing incident during the 2020 holiday season. "We always have a big family Christmas at our parents' house," she said. But that year, Ethan called at the last minute to say he and Olivia couldn't make it. When I pressed him, he said Olivia wasn't feeling well and he needed to stay with her, but I could hear her in the background, sounding perfectly fine. Olivia employed a variety of emotional manipulation tactics to maintain her grip on Ethan. She would oscillate between lavishing him with affection and subjecting him to cold, silent treatments if he didn't comply with her wishes. Ethan's friend, Mark, recounted a camping trip they had planned for months. The night before we were supposed to leave, Ethan called to cancel. He sounded so defeated. He said Olivia was upset he was going away without her, even though she'd been invited and had declined. As 2021 progressed, Olivia's behavior became more erratic. She began accusing Ethan of infidelity despite having no evidence to support her claims. She would show up unannounced at the high school, ostensibly to bring Ethan lunch. But colleagues noted how she seemed to be scanning the room as if looking for signs of inappropriate behavior. Ethan's student, Emma Chen, later testified to a disturbing encounter. Miss Rogan came into our classroom during lunch break. Mr. Reed wasn't there, but she stayed anyway, asking us questions about him. It felt really weird and invasive. Despite the mounting evidence of Olivia's controlling behavior, Ethan remained committed to the relationship. Those close to him noted his increasing stress and anxiety, but he would deflect their concerns, often making excuses for Olivia's actions. His sister, Amanda, confronted him directly in the summer of 2021. "I told him I was worried that this didn't seem like a healthy relationship," she said. "But he just got defensive. He said I didn't understand Olivia, that she'd been hurt in the past and needed extra reassurance. He truly believed he could help her overcome her insecurities." As Olivia's paranoia and need for control reached new heights, she made a decision that would irreversibly alter the course of her relationship with Ethan and ultimately lead to its tragic conclusion. In late August 2021, while Ethan was away on a weekend trip with his family, Olivia installed several hidden cameras throughout his apartment. She justified her actions by convincing herself that she needed to know what he was doing at all times to keep their relationship secure. Olivia's descent into this invasive behavior was fueled by her growing fear of losing Ethan. She carefully concealed the cameras in everyday objects, choosing locations that would allow her to monitor every corner of the apartment without arousing suspicion. A small camera was placed inside a bookshelf, another hidden within a potted plant in the living room, and one discreetly installed in the bedroom clock. Olivia even placed a camera in the bathroom, a violation of Ethan's most private moments. Initially, Olivia was relieved to see that Ethan's behavior did not betray any signs of infidelity or deceit. However, this did little to quell her growing paranoia. Instead of finding comfort in Ethan's fidelity, she became more obsessed with monitoring his every move. She would spend hours watching the footage, scrutinizing every interaction, and looking for any indication that Ethan might be hiding something from her. As weeks turned into months, Olivia's behavior became increasingly erratic. She would confront Ethan about innocuous interactions, such as a friendly conversation with a neighbor or a casual chat with a coworker. Ethan, unaware of the surveillance, was baffled by Olivia's accusations, and attempts to reassure her seemed to fall on deaf ears. His friend Jessica Lawson noticed his worsening condition. "He looked exhausted all the time," she said. "He started making mistakes at work, something that was very unlike him. It was clear that whatever was happening at home was taking a serious toll on him." Ethan's attempts to reason with Olivia often resulted in heated arguments. Olivia's demands for transparency became more invasive. She insisted on having access to his phone and social media accounts, reading his messages, and tracking his whereabouts through GPS. Ethan, feeling increasingly trapped and isolated, began to confide in his sister, Amanda, about the extent of Olivia's control. He finally admitted that he felt like he was walking on eggshells all the time, Amanda recalled. He said he loved Olivia, but didn't know how to make her feel secure. I urged him to consider ending the relationship for his own well-being. In a tragic turn of events, Ethan decided to take a stand against Olivia's control. On the evening of October 14, 2021, he told Olivia that he needed some space to think and that their relationship needed boundaries. Olivia, already on edge from weeks of surveillance and growing paranoia, reacted with a mixture of desperation and fury. The argument escalated quickly, and Ethan, trying to defuse the situation, left the apartment to clear his head. Olivia's reaction to Ethan's attempt to set boundaries was immediate and severe. In a fit of rage and desperation, she turned to the surveillance footage, replaying their argument over and over. Her emotions swung wildly between sorrow and anger, convinced that Ethan was abandoning her. Fueled by these turbulent emotions, Olivia devised a plan to confront Ethan one last time. She spent the night pacing the apartment, consumed by thoughts of betrayal and fear of losing the one person she believed she could rely on. The next morning, Ethan returned to the apartment, hoping to have a calm conversation and find a way to move forward. However, he was met with an enraged Olivia, who accused him of abandoning her and planning to leave her for someone else. As the argument intensified, Olivia's fear and desperation reached a boiling point. In a moment of blind rage, she grabbed a kitchen knife and confronted Ethan, demanding answers and assurances that he could no longer provide. Ethan, taken aback by Olivia's aggression, tried to de-escalate the situation, pleading with her to put the knife down. But Olivia's mind was clouded by paranoia and the belief that she had nothing left to lose. In a tragic and irreversible act, Olivia stabbed Ethan multiple times, unable to comprehend the gravity of her actions until it was too late. Realizing the horrific reality of what she had done, Olivia was overcome with shock and grief. She called 911, her voice shaking as she confessed to the crime. When the police arrived, they found her sitting on the floor, cradling Ethan's lifeless body and sobbing uncontrollably. The hidden cameras that had fueled her paranoia captured the aftermath of the crime, providing chilling evidence of the tragic culmination of Olivia's descent into madness. The trial of Olivia Rogan was a media sensation, with every detail of the couple's tumultuous relationship laid bare for the world to see. Prosecutors painted Olivia as a manipulative and controlling individual whose obsession led her to commit murder. Her defense team argued that she was a victim of her own mental health issues, driven to a breaking point by her fear of abandonment. Ultimately, Olivia was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Ethan Reed's family and friends were left to grapple with the devastating loss of a beloved son, brother, and friend, whose life was cut tragically short by the person he had once loved.